Hey guys, we're going to be learning about the Industrial Revolution. The first thing we need is to get some background knowledge. So we're going to read through this packet, and then we're going to be doing some Bloom's taxonomy activities to engage ourselves with it. I well recollect the state of admiration and satisfaction with which we sat by the hour watching the beautiful movement of this new and wonderful machine. Nathan Appleton, Boston Merchant. Introduction. A revolution brings about great change. It's not just a small change, such as growing a year older. It's just not an important change, such as the election of a new president. The Industrial Revolution changed America. It did not happen all at one time by winning one battle or signing one law. The Industrial Revolution was more like a giant turning point. It was a time in human history when people learned how to make machines that would forever change the way we worked and lived. The heart of America's Industrial Revolution took place from the late 1700s to the mid-1800s. The changes that took place then have shaped the world we live in today. Take a look at this picture. What do you see going on? What are the people doing in the picture? What types of people are there? How might this be different than what had been happening before in history? Engines of change. Imagine a morning in America 250 years ago. As the sun rose, the workday began. On a Massachusetts farm, a 10-year-old girl rushed to join her brothers and sisters. They were doing their chores. They would spend all day helping their parents. Every day except Sunday, the family worked together. They grew the food they ate. They made the clothes they wore. They built and repaired the buildings they needed. Life had been much the same since their ancestors had arrived from England in the 1600s. This could have been almost any American family in the mid-1700s. Of every 10 Americans, 8 lived on farms. They grew and made almost everything they used. Tools were simple. A farmer used the same tools and methods that people had used for hundreds of years. Many women and their daughters made all the clothing for their family. Often they used wool sheared from the farm sheep. They may also have used flax grown in their fields. Flax is a plant that is used to make linen thread. Sometimes women who are very good spinners or weavers made cloth for other people. They made it all by hand. They worked at home just as many women had done for hundreds of years. By the early 1700s, some cloth makers began sending their cloth out of the home for the last step, the fulling. They sent the cloth to one of the new mills built along a river or stream. In a mill, people worked together to manufacture or make something. In these early mills, Americans were beginning to use the power of moving water to grind grain, to cut wood, and now to make cloth. The mills were a sign of changes to come. A revolution in England. In the 1700s, England was a powerful nation. It had colonies around the world. The production of cloth, the textile industry, was part of what made England rich. At that time, most cloth was wool or linen. Cotton cloth was rare, but in the mid-1700s, cotton cloth became very popular. Suddenly, demand was greater than the supply. Many people wanted cotton cloth. Home spinners and weavers couldn't make enough. The need to produce more cloth in less time inspired some inventors. James Hargreaves made the first big breakthrough in the 1760s. He invented a machine called the spinning jenny. As an operator turned a hand crank, the machine pulled long rolls of cotton into thread. The first spinning jenny allowed a spinner to spin several threads at one time. Now, one spinner could make a lot more thread, which could then be woven into a lot more cloth. A few years later, another Englishman, Richard Arkwright, changed cotton manufacturing forever. He invented a spinning machine operated by moving water. Arkwright called the new machine a water frame. Now spinners could spin even faster. Then, in 1785, a power loom was invented for weaving cotton cloth. The loom operated on water power, too. Weavers could now weave more cloth much faster. These new machines were too large to use at home. They had to be powered by the great water wheels that ran mills. Soon, spinning mills and weaving mills were built along England's waterways. People who had once worked at home and went to work in mills. Many of these workers were women and children. No longer could they set their own schedules. No longer could they work at their own pace. Mill owners were in charge. The American Dilemma. The American Revolution ended in 1783 with the signing of the peace treaty between Britain and its former colonies. The 13 new states were free from British control. Many people in America wanted the country to grow quickly. They thought that the way to do this was to develop manufacturing. How was this to be done? The United States had no mills like the ones in England. It did not have the English machines. How could American business leaders get the machines they needed? How could they learn the new ways of making textiles? The British government did not want any competition from the United States, so it passed laws making it legal to send textile machinery or plans for the machinery out of Britain. How would Americans bring the needed technology to the United States? The answer lay in the memory of one man. Samuel Slater's incredible memory. Samuel Slater spent his boyhood in the English countryside. It was here that Richard Arkwright had built the world's first water-powered textile mills. At the age of 14, Samuel signed on as an apprentice, or a person learning a trade, to the owner of a local textile mill. He worked there for almost 7 years. Young Slater quickly understood the mechanics of the new machines. Mill owners then had to make all of their own machinery. Slater learned how to design, build, and operate all of the machines. Soon after his apprenticeship ended, Slater decided to go to America. He had learned that Americans were paying good salaries to Englishmen who could run the new textile machines. He knew that he could build and run the Arkwright machines. He had the information in his head. Disguised as a farmer, Samuel Slater set out by ship for America in 1789. Soon after his arrival, the young Englishman wrote to Moses Brown, who was a textile manufacturer in Rhode Island. Like others in the Northeast, Moses Brown wanted to copy the English ways. Slater told Brown that he could build the machinery necessary to set up the Arkwright mill. In January 1790, Samuel Slater reached Pawtucket, Rhode Island. It was along the banks of the Blackstone River. The river would provide water power. Slater set to work. It took a year of hard work and 16-hour days. Skilled woodworkers and iron workers helped Slater. He was able to recreate 2 Arkwright water frames. Within a month, Slater had 9 employees at work in the mill. Most of them were children. They made the first cotton thread ever spun automatically in the United States. Samuel Slater had brought the Industrial Revolution to America.